Back. Welcome, Walter Jason here. Hope you have an awesome day. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some news regarding the US GDP, or the gross domestic product, because this was announced on Thursday and actually has decreased unexpectedly for the first quarter of 2022. So I'm going to be sharing the latest report regarding this and how it's going to be affecting our housing market in 2022. So I hope you guys get a lot of value of today's video. If you do, of course, hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. And let's go ahead and dive right into the video. So it says here, US GDP unexpectedly contracted or decreased at a 1.4% annualized rate in Q1. US economic activity unexpectedly contracted for the first time since the second quarter of 2022 in the first months of 2022. And this is due to supply chain constraints, inflation, and disruptions amid Russia's war in Ukraine weighing on growth here. So here's something I found very interesting. You definitely should be aware of this. And that is that GDP, or the gross domestic product, annualized quarter over quarter for the first quarter of 2022 actually decreased by 1.4% versus 1% that was expected. So they were expecting that GDP was going to be increasing by 1%. And it actually did the opposite. It decreased by 1.4% on an annualized basis for Q1 2022. Also, personal consumption increased by 2.7%, a decrease compared to the 3.5% that was expected. And of course, this GDP report is a backwards looking indicator because it looks at activity for January, February, and March of this year. However, as it says here, this metric is still an important indicator of the state of the US economy at the start of the year. So what a lot of people are talking about right now, because we're seeing a decrease in the GDP numbers here, is that the looming recession may be occurring, or maybe it has already occurred. So a recession is typically considered 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. And there are some varying definitions about what a recession is. So actually, if you go onto Investopedia, it says a recession is a significant decline in general economic activity. It had been typically recognized as 2 consecutive quarters of economic decline, as reflected by the GDP. However, the National Bureau of Economic Research, or NBER, which officially declares recessions, says the 2 consecutive quarters of decline in real GDP are not how it's defined anymore. Instead, it defines a recession as a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy, lasting more than a few months, normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. In general, though, a recession is a period of a declining economic performance across an entire economy, and that lasts for several months. So in any case, time will tell if we are going to be entering into a recession here. But let me share the reaction from the National Association of Realtors. I thought they had a really good summary regarding how this new report that GDP has decreased, how it's going to be affecting our housing market here. So it says, of course, the economy measured by the gross domestic product contracted at an annual rate of 1.4% in the first quarter of 2022. Again, they were expecting an increase of 1%. It says here, what is more alarming is that even as personal consumption spending rose at a faster pace of 2.7%, the increase was due to one-off purchases like buying RVs and motor vehicles and parts. However, consumers cut back on essential basic items like gasoline, clothing, food and beverage, and furnishings and household equipment. This is a clear indication that consumers are tightening their belts with inflation eroding purchasing power. And the National Association of Realtors projection is that they're forecasting that the Fed is going to stick to their plan of raising rates in order to control inflation. We're also seeing people not save as much money compared to pre-COVID as well. So the personal savings rate further decreased to 6.6%, which was already below pre-pandemic levels of 9.7% in Q1 of 2020. However, spending on services like housing and utilities increased from the prior quarter and increased by 15%, and transportation increased by 5%. In regards to the housing market, though, it says on a positive side, investment in residential structures actually were up by 2.1% on an annualized rate. Meanwhile, March housing permits and start figures indicate that housing construction is ramping up for multifamily properties, and that's obviously good for renters because they're building apartment buildings for rent and not for sale. But the bad news for home buyers is that builders right now are decreasing the amount of housing starts for single family houses, and the National Association of Realtors said this is not good news for potential homeowners, because obviously we need builders to ramp up construction of single family houses and not multifamily properties. So what does this all mean for our housing market? The decline in consumer spending and overall economic growth portends is a warning for a decline in housing demand in the coming months, as households are hit with a triple whammy. Here's what the triple whammy is. Rising mortgage rates, which have increased approximately 2 percentage points this year alone, an increase in home prices compared to 1 year ago by about 15%, and also higher inflation. So right now, households need about $1,000 more per month just to be able to maintain the same level of consumer spending from 1 year ago and to be able to afford a higher mortgage rate. Therefore, the National Association of Realtors expects existing home sales to contract by 9% in 2022. So in other words, because we have high inflation, high home prices, and rising mortgage rates, this is causing an affordability issue across the United States. And speaking of housing affordability, I actually found a new article according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, or the MBA, that was actually published on the 28th of April. They said home buying affordability declined in March, with the national median payment applied for by applicants rising 5% to $1,736 per month from $1,653 in February. So basically a $100 per month gain in one single month. So what the MBA did is they looked at the total number of people submitting loan applications for home purchases, and they looked at how their income was compared to what their future housing payment would be based on the amount of the loan that they were applying for. So based on that, they're saying that the affordability declined in March, again, from a payment of $1,700 to basically from $1,653 in February. And this is due, of course, to rapid home price growth and also a 42 basis point surge. In other words, an increase of 0.4 percentage points in mortgage rates last month. And that slowed purchase application activity, as I mentioned in my previous videos. In any case, a typical borrower's principal interest payment, that's P&I, was $387 more per month than compared to March 2021, because we have home prices increasing and also, of course, mortgage rates increasing as well. So basically buying the same house now compared to 1 year ago, you're gonna be paying approximately $387 more per month in principal interest payments. That excludes the increase in property taxes though. It says here, swift price appreciation, meaning big increases in home prices, sky high inflation, low housing inventory, and mortgage rates now 2 percentage points higher compared to 1 year ago are all headwinds for the housing market in the coming months, especially for first-time home buyers. And because of all these headwinds, the MBA actually revised or actually downgraded their forecast, because they're now calling for an annual decline in existing home sales, higher home prices, and higher mortgage rates. And here's an example about how high mortgage payments have been increasing. So this is the national median mortgage payment applied by applicants. Again, people looking to apply for mortgages to buy houses. This is the median mortgage payments here. So for March, again, $1,736 per month. That's actually up from February. But take a look from January. In January, the median mortgage payment was actually $1,526. So in a span of basically 2 months, that has increased approximately $200 more per month. Especially when we look at compared to March 2021, when the payment was $1,349. So in other words, the average monthly mortgage payment has increased approximately $400 compared to 1 year ago. So what's your biggest takeaways from today's video? Hope you guys got a lot of value out of today's video. If you did, please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Also consider subscribing as well. I post the latest housing market updates so you can make a more informed decision about whether you should buy or sell a house. Hope you have an awesome day. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.